Good evening and welcome to our 2000 subscriber live stream. What we've done here for you is Douglas has put a video together of a load of locos running because it's going to be quite boring just sitting looking at us two talking.
Yeah.
I think we've got something going as well that will show us how many people we've got watching. Have we got anybody watching us at the moment?
No, because it's just starting up.
Okay, well hopefully we'll get a few of you looking at it in a minute. So this is some nice film of various layouts we've built at various stages.
Making miniatures with Max.
Oh yeah, we've got a couple of people watching. That's great. So what we're going to do, we're going to run through the questions that you kindly sent in to be answered. And they're all very good questions. So I really appreciate the thought people put into this.
Oh, hi, Freddie.
And we've got a couple of people. And then we might talk a bit about the film if there's some time left. So
yeah.
Tom Hackney asked us a question about how we clean our track. He also made some nice comments on our layouts. Basically, what we use is these, which are sanding blocks that you get for about 10 for a quid from a pound shop. Now, I have to say we use these because we use second-hand steel track a lot, and they tend to be very corroded. So, although this is a bit severe, and I know all the purists will say don't use it on your nickel silver, on the steel track, it's one of the best ways of getting it clean and keeping it clean. We're then going to experiment with various cleaners, but I have to say that we've done that. We've given all our exhibition layouts a good clean with that before we start, and then a wipe down, and that seems to work for us. But as I say, we do tend to use a lot of old second-hand steel track. It's probably a little abrasive for nickel silver. Luke Stables asked us what our first layout and train set was. Well, actually, it was, like most people, a Hornby train set pack for Christmas for Douglas, and it was
even though I opened it early because I was excited.
So you can't do patience. And it's a little Great Western 040 and some wagons and a circular track.
It was the mixed passenger freight, I think. So it had a circle of track, a point, a basic controller that are absolutely awful. The basic controllers don't work at all.
Oh, can I say, if you've got any questions, please
leave them in the chat.
Leave them in the chat, and
we'll
try and answer them. So, yeah, so that's the first one we had, but actually that didn't get us overexcited. What actually happened is we went to an auction with my wife because she wanted to buy some furniture, and there was a box of really looked like broken bits of model railway
that we brought. And
the auctioneer took pity on us and let us have it cheap. And when we got home with a bit of fiddling, we found a large dref.
It was a dref, a big steam loco.
It's their equivalent of an Evening Star, so it's about like a 210/8 or something like that.
260, I think.
And that's really what got us going, because seeing that running around was quite special. And then I remember my late father having an Evening Star, and I bought a second-hand Evening Star, and we got that running. And that's really then how we got into it. So that was really our first layout, train set sort of thing.
And then we say our first layout?
I think somebody else asked that later on. So
no, I don't think
okay. Well, the first layout, yeah.
So our first layout was technically called Rosen's Hill. Some of you might remember Green Hill Halt, which was our very first exhibition layout. And that actually was originally attached to a layout that used to be in here, which is now my bedroom, called Rosen's Hill. It was completely different back then. We didn't really know what track plans were, so it had no runaround loops and no operating potential at all. But if you search up on YouTube Rosen's Hill, not to be confused with our new layout, if you search up Rosen's Hill, there'll be a channel called that, and that was our old channel. And there's a few videos on there of our very first layout.
Different picture on that one.
Yeah, I know. Don't ignore that.
Okay. So then we've had Intercity 125 ask us how long does it take to build a layout. Well, that really depends what you're building. My little shunting layout I built in one afternoon in an evening. Little Ringwood, which was probably one of the best little shunting layouts we built between us. That took a weekend.
Yep.
Rosen's Hill, the exhibition layout, took 6 or 9 months of lots of Friday evenings and every bit of spare time.
You've seen the updates probably. 15 episodes of Fridays, so 15 Fridays effectively. We've got a couple of questions over here. So how do we make our trees? We don't.
We buy them from China.
We buy them ridiculously cheap from China off eBay.
But then, as somebody said, bottle brushes, trim them and spray them green. But the bottle brushes you can also get cheap from China.
What was your favourite layout?
Well, I was wondering if somebody would ask us that one. I feel a bit like if you ever hear an author or a music, a rock band, they'll always say the last one I read or the last one I made, and I think there's always an element of whatever one you're making is currently your favourite. For me, it probably is the one I'm making, Homeward, because in some ways, I don't know, it does everything I want. I suppose ultimately my favourite will always be Green Hill Hall, because it was the first one me and Doug built together and we had as an exhibition.
Yeah.
And that's what got us into it. You know, when we first laid the bit of ballasted track with some grass and it really looked like a model railway, that's really what got us started. So I suppose you'd have to say Green Hill Hall.
Yeah, the first. What is our favourite model train?
That again, I think depends on, you know, what's yours then?
My favourite is, I might do a review on it maybe. It's my Class 47 in Intercity livery.
Yeah.
You haven't seen that yet, but it's amazing.
I suppose mine would be probably my green, either my Hornby Class 25 or my 29. I'm fortunate enough to have been able to get the detailed ones. So these are the ones that are in 3 colours, 2-tone green, beautiful runners, you know, 25 quid each. You can't knock them. Favourite heritage railway?
We've been to, well, favourite heritage railway we've been to for shows is the actual question, so that's got to be Bluebell because that's the only one we've been to. But if you knock it back a couple of words to favourite heritage railway, I don't know.
Oh, I do.
Dad knows.
Well, mine's is probably probably the North York Moors, because me and Doug went there and it was the first time we saw diesels. So it's the first time we saw a 37 and a 25.
There is a video of that on, again, our old channel, Rosens Hill.
And we walked down the line and where they've got their engineering, we found a 31. So probably that. Although going to Dunster Station on the, what is it, Somerset, West Somerset? West Somerset. In the evening, that was quite special. That felt like it must have felt when it was, you know, in the old days.
Yeah, mine, I like the Isle of Wight Railway. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to check it out on our channel.
So a few more questions. Good old Sherylin, who's one of our big supporters. Hi there in Canada. Merits of DC over DCC for smaller layouts, and maybe where DCC would be good for a small layout or a bigger layout. I think you can go on about this forever. Everybody does. I think if you've got the money and the time, DCC has its merits. I don't quite... Unless you're running lots of locos at the same time, I really don't see the advantage apart from sound. I had my old Hornby Class 25 running at walking pace last night with DC on second-hand track with an old controller, and I don't see what DCC does. No. My main concern is a bit like Bluebell. We were at the show, somebody was exhibiting one of his locos, tripped the point, shorted on the point, fried its motor and fried all his controller.
Exhibition over.
And that was the end of his exhibition. So that's my problem with DCC.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Where do we keep all our layouts, and do we disassemble any?
Yes.
Would you call Homeward disassembled down the garden?
Yeah, so down the end of our garden we've got this absolutely huge pile of mess that we just got to deal with. And we were starting clearing it out today. And Dad threw a bit of cardboard over there. And I was just like, that looks like your old baseboard of Homeward. It is trashed. You might remember from the video of model railway failures, sometimes things go wrong. The track had all lifted. So we took all the track off, took all the buildings, and just threw the baseboard on that pile. And several months later, through a load of big storms and rain,
it's gone. It's
basically mush.
So the answer is that we've sold 2. So I had a lovely big one in the shed called
3.
Much Inkling. 3?
3. Sold 3.
Much Inkling.
Much Inkling. Little Ringwood.
Yeah.
Oh no, okay, 2. Sold 2.
So we've sold 2. The shunting layouts stack on top of a cupboard unit in the study, basically.
Because we build them out of cardboard.
Yeah.
So light.
Rosens Hill, the exhibition layout, lives on its side under a shelf in the study. It's a little bit in the way, but it's the only place really that we could put it. But storage is a problem, and I think it's one of the things people don't think about when they build layouts. So we've got some more questions.
How do you come up with the layout era? Well, generally we either don't. For example, my new layout, all got 18 watching us, the most we've ever. For example, my new layout, it's not a specific era, it's just modern. And the reason I do that is because I decided I wanted to make a highly detailed layout that was modern rather than old. So I didn't exactly decide on it. I just kind of thought, let's make a modern one.
What I would say though is, you know, people that know us well, that's one of the saddest things I ever saw on a forum. Was a young lad who'd written in and said, I've got a load of trains of my dad and I want to build a layout. What do I do? And the advice they gave him was, decide what era you want to model first. This is crucial. I mean, what nonsense. He's got a load of leftover trains from his dad. He wanted to know how to build a layout. He's not bothered about era. You know, my favourite era, yeah, I like modelling the end of steam with the black locos and the beginning of diesels. But are all my wagons and rolling stock accurate? No, they're not. I just go out there and run whatever trains I feel like running that evening with whatever rolling stock I've got handy. I think, you know, there's a lot of, I won't say nonsense, but, you know, to each their own. If that's what you like doing, and I can understand why people like everything to be exactly right, that's great. But I just like running locos, whatever I happen to have at the time.
Yeah.
I am getting more interested in doing it right, but not enough to stop me just running whatever I feel like running.
No. Are your buildings kits or scratch built?
Both.
Both. So some are kits that we've got secondhand from model shops. Some are scratch built. I think maybe you'll see a clip in a second. Yeah, see that building there that says Budget Model Railways on it? That is from our kit range.
And the station at the bottom there is scratch built.
Yeah, so that's from our kit range. We've got a few buildings on there.
Yeah, have a look at that. If you haven't seen it, go on our website. And
our website's in the description of all of our videos.
But that's a good shot there you're looking at. So that's plastic kit buildings, some of which were bought completed and some of which were built. If I had the time, I would scratch build all my own buildings because it's cheaper and they fit your layout. But at the end of the day, all the time I can buy completed buildings quite cheaply, which I've just done with some of the super quick. The only thing I don't like is paying 25 quid for a resin building. I don't get that. So a bit of everything. So let's have a quick look down here.
I honestly think this is awesome father-son.
Thank you, Scorpion
actually
FTV.
Doing things.
Yeah, and we're not actually argued yet, which is unusual.
No, normally we would argue in videos.
Bob Parks, so we'll answer that one quickly. Layout caused the most problems is
Homewood.
the original Homewood because all the track buckled. Let's have a work through a few more of these questions.
No, we don't have any North American engines.
Well, that's not
Actually,
quite
we have
true.
one.
No, that's not quite true. We have three? But they're Mahano locos that are painted by Mahano to represent European locos. So they're actually American locos. They're beautiful. They're heavily weighted, all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup. But I don't see me ever actually doing an American one. So do we ever think about joining all the layouts together? Yes, I've thought about it, but they don't all fit because you have to do that in the planning
Exactly,
stage.
and first of all, we don't have any
I'm just going
corner layouts.
to run through a couple of these quickly. When are you going to build a more highly detailed layout? That's from
my
Ben's
video
Model Railways.
series.
He already has.
Yay, check out
Can
my
we do
series.
some Australian stuff? DT90. Well, I'd love to. I've seen some fantastic Australian layouts and I'm really interested in it, but it's just almost impossible in the UK to get the Australian rolling stock second-hand. And new, it's quite expensive, but I never say never. So have we got any other questions there?
Track mats, a good or bad thing?
I think everything's good if it gets you going.
I think track mats are good.
It gives you a good little layout and a bit of scenery at the bottom. I think you'd soon want to go up a level and perhaps lose ballast mat and grass mat, but it gets you started.
Yeah. Making Miniatures with Max says, how do you upgrade a Woodland Scenics 4x8 layout on a budget? So if you're wanting budget scenery, I'd probably recommend Hobby King if you're going to get some scenery. Mainly because of the fact they might look expensive at first, but the bag sizes, if you look at the quantity, is actually huge. You get a lot for the money.
What I would say, though, is just watch our videos.
Yeah.
It shows you how to make hedges and all sorts of things cheap.
This is an important one. When's your next exhibition and where?
October the 28th, something like that.
October, the Halloween weekend.
The November, which is the New Haven Model Railway Club, but they exhibit at
Seaford.
the Church Hall in Seaford. We went last year. They very kindly invited us this year. If you're in the area, southeast of England, Google the dates and times.
Yeah, if you go on their website, they've got all about the dates, times, where it is, and directions.
It's a really, really good show. If you're in the area, please come and see it. Okay. Do we have a plan on making a DCC layout? Yes, probably eventually one day if the price comes down.
Yeah, what we did notice, we were in a model shop when I went out to work with Dad, which is where I bought my ballast for my layout. We noticed that the price of DCC train sets from Hornby is definitely coming down. I suppose it's because they're getting older now. DCC has been out for a long time. So, yeah, the prices are coming down. So, potentially, in the long term, we might well make a
But
layout.
it's some years away. It's some years away. How do we stop, Bob Watson, how do you stop the edges collapsing when cutting along the corrugated cardboard, i.e. with the furrows, not across them, because it affects the dimensions and looks? The answer is, yeah, it is a bit untidy. I just put a facial board on it. So either a bit of mounting board or another bit of corrugated cardboard, and that neatens the edge up. Mark Bean, will you review Hornby Smoky Joe and Bachman Thomas the tank engine? Well, the Hornby Smoky Joe is the same as any other Hornby 040, and we've reviewed a few of those. If you get an old one, it will be a bit hit and miss whether you get a good one. If you can afford the money of one of the newer ones, it'll be a smashing little Loco because they've been re-geared, but no way would I pay the £32 they are new.
No.
About £12-15 second hand is more than enough. Classic Rail at Ticehurst, our mate Richard, he's got a website. He's always got at least half a dozen of them around the £15-18 mark. I'd get one from him. Bachman Thomas, the tank engine. Don't know too much about those, I'm afraid, so I can't help you with that one. Have we ever been to the Foxfield Railway? No, afraid not. Not quite sure where that is.
No. Tell us where the Foxfield Railway is, please. Because we're going through them questions quite quick. Let's just answer a few more. Hi guys, big fan, great work. Have you seen Adam Plum's video on homemade plaster sheets?
No, but there's some good plaster moulding. Plaster is one of the materials I'm going to have an experiment with one day for doing things like tunnel mouths and so on. I've used it in the past to mould armoured vehicles and wheels for armoured vehicles when I used to be a military modeller. So I'm familiar with the concept, can be quite good fun. How do you prevent cardboard? Well, cardboard, how do you expect to stop it from warping? If you just use layers of cardboard, you're not going to be able to stop it from warping. So if you do what I did originally on Homewood, which is just laminate lots of sheets of cardboard to make a board, it's going to warp. The answer is to do what we did on Rosens Hill, but improve it. And that's to make beams with the corrugated cardboard upwards, vertical.
Yeah.
That then can't warp. Now, if you put enough cross bracing, a thick enough couple of levels of corrugated cardboard on top and weight it, can't warp. No. So it depends how you built it. I'm not sure I would always cardboard baseboard, but it does bring the weight right down.
Yeah, it's cardboard baseboard is good for if you're having a layout that is going to be moved around a lot. So, for example, Homewood Valley Railway, which is the one that we haven't done an update for in a while. We'll probably do one next week. That's built on a really, really heavy wooden baseboard, but it's never going to be moved. It's going to stay there. So, whereas for something like Rosens Hill, which is our exhibition layout, which is moved around all the time, it needs to be light like a cardboard baseboard.
So let's go through a few more of these very quickly. Have we gone to Worley? No. Nope. I'd love to go and see it, and I'd love to exhibit, but
too high end, I think.
I don't think they'd probably like us. Train parts, we if I need them, I haven't actually gone down the route of getting parts. I only buy complete locos and then fix them if I can. Best baseboard, well, as we say, depends what you want it for.
Yep.
Timber's great if it's stationary. Scratch built platforms.
Videos soon.
Corrugated cardboard. There's a video coming up. Almost anything that gets packaged will have pieces of 10 to 15 mil thick corrugated cardboard in it. Quickest and easiest way of making platforms. It is in a few of our videos, and we've got a video coming up.
Yep.
No, Foxfield is near Stoke, so no, we haven't.
Where's Stoke?
Midlands.
Miles away.
I used to work there, but I haven't visited the railway.
Yes, we've visited Swanage Railway before. There's a video, if you scroll back a year, last summer holidays, we went to Swanage Railway. There's a video of that on our channel.
I see what you mean about the plaster sheets for using. Yeah, absolutely. Use bits of old cloth rather than expensive plaster mod rock. So let's just do a couple of these. We'll come back to the favourite Loco because we've kind of done that earlier. What do you do to go to exhibitions with a layout? There's two answers to that. If you mean how do we get invited, don't. Ask people, write to people, email people, and ask if you can exhibit.
That's what we did. I went, it was ages ago, before we'd ever exhibited, I went onto Google and I typed up model railway exhibitions in the UK for the year after. So and then it came up with a list of model railway exhibitions, and it came up with all contact emails and things. So we then just sat down, emailed them all, said could we turn up with a layout.
Yeah, I mean, everything we read said you'd got to be in a club and wait to be invited. And we spoke to a really helpful guy. We were at the National Railway Museum, and there was a guy there with a layout, and he was brilliant. And he advised us and said, no, contact people. And as it happens, we got lucky. The Bluebell Railway is a business customer of mine. And so we had the contacts there to get into the Bluebell. But we got invited to all the others by asking. Yeah. It's only now that Rosens Hill is so successful that we've got clubs approaching us now and asking us.
Bognor Railway, East Grinstead Model Railway.
Basically, I think we could do about a dozen a year if we had the time, but we've got other commitments. What do we do? If you meant what do we do prior to an exhibition, initially we did lots of work. So we took a big box with spare everything, lots of spare track motors, a whole toolbox. We've now got that,
which we ever used.
None of which we ever used.
Good to have it just in case.
We're now down basically to a few simple tools, a bit of wire, and a spare loco, because pretty much our layouts are quite simple. So the big problem actually is getting it in the car. That's can be a challenge. So have we got any? My accent.
Accent.
Yeah, I sound terrible on video. I always do. I'm actually born and bred in Sussex, but it's been raised before that I have that sort of accent. But it's, I think it's the way it comes out in the video.
Favourite loco. We'll do that again just in case you weren't here at the beginning. So mine is a Class 47 in Swallow livery.
And mine's the old Hornby Class 25 and 29 locos, but the triple green colour ones.
I'll answer this one. Are you guys going to release merchandise? Well, I've been thinking about it, but the point is, it depends how many of you want it. Because if there's only 3 of you that want it, there's no point doing it. So if you want it, tell us. And if enough people want it, then maybe, potentially, we could.
Who knows? You know, when we're as big as Hornby one day, ha ha.
It just depends how many people want it.
So we got another question here from Daniel Harrison. What makes for a truly great small layout, and how do you go about keeping it interesting to operate time and time again? Passing loop, if it's a shunting layout. Lots of sidings, if it's a shunting layout. Homewood's probably the best example at the moment, because I can run it round and round when I want to watch trains run round, and I can shunt in reverse into a 3-lane good siding when I want to shunt. What keeps it interesting is knowing enough about real railways to know that you can have mixed freight, pick up goods, drop off goods, mixed passenger freight, parcels wagons, coal trains, gunpowder trains, suburban trains, express trains, and that way you can run lots of different locos through. So I think what keeps it interesting is enough operational planning and enough different rolling stock and locos to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Doug's probably got something to say on that, have you?
What
makes it, how do you keep it interesting time, and what makes a good small layout? What do you think makes a great small layout?
I would say...
Well, Barb, what do you think makes a great interest? Well, Barb, it's like 2 sports presenters, this, isn't it?
Well, I would definitely, most importantly say, there's a microphone here, I don't know why I'm doing that. I would say cram a lot in. Rosens Hill and Greenhill Hall are probably a good example of this, because don't literally cram everything into everything's so squashed.
Well,
but the more you've got in there, the more interest there is, especially for like an exhibition layout. We saw one when we went to the North York Moors, and we went to the Railway Museum there, and there was a layout there. And it was completely crammed full of stuff. And it was brilliant, because for all the little kids, they had a little checklist. And it said, could you find this? And could you find this? And it was brilliant, because you could look at it for hours and see different things everywhere. So I think that makes a good layout.
It's known in wargaming as and I know in railway modelling, it's compression. And wargamers get used to it. A scale weapon range in wargaming 4mm, which is the same as 00, is about 4.5 metres. And nobody's got a table that big. So you bring all the scales down. And railways, there seems to be a tendency to try and resist this. Once you've got to compress, you might as well compress. So does it really matter if you've got 3 stations and 2 sidings in an area that's a quarter the size in real life? Does it really matter your sidings will only take 3 wagons when in real life they took 10? No. It's much better to have all these features in miniature than a wholly accurate layout, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's answer a few on here. What made us into trains?
Well, what made you go? Yeah, you basically.
Me.
I was a military and aviation plastic kit modeler for 40 years. I got no interest in trains, never have had. Until 4 years ago, I literally had no interest in them. Doug got it. I tried to get Doug interested in that, and he didn't really want to know. He made
I built a few aeroplanes. That was about it.
He then wants this model railway that we explained earlier.
Well, no, I went to my friend's house who had a model train. I was just like, whoa, this is actually quite cool. And then I was saying to Dad, hey, can we get a model railway? And we went to the Hornby place. We'd been there a couple of times, and then, like, the third time, we came out with a layout. We brought a train set. Whoops.
So basically, he then wanted to do it. I played along just because I wanted to be encouraged by him. And quite frankly, I just got hugely bitten by the bug. I've always been a modeler and making things. And it's such a great hobby because I get to make scenery, I get to make buildings, I get to make scratch build buildings and kit buildings. I love track. I love the geometry of it. I love the aesthetics of it. I love working with set track. I've never felt the need to use flexi track. I love making it all fit in together. I love getting a big box of track like a puzzle and making it work. And so for me, it's a complete hobby because you've got the electrics, you've got the different locos, and I've really kind of got into that now, and I actually sold all my kit collection, my 40-year-old kit collection, which was quite a few hundred kits, to buy model railways. So that's gone now.
Yeah. We've got loads on here.
Okay, I can't answer, I'm afraid, about the O gauge because I don't know enough about it.
No.
Leo Sharp, right. Yeah, sadly, there's very few model shops now. I mean, the one in Uckfield's gone.
Model Zone went ages ago.
There's very few second-hand shops. Train Time's Eastbourne Model Railway shop can be good. He has some real bargains in there. Some of his other stuff's a little bit more expensive. Richard's the best one I've found. There's quite a good one in Alton in Hampshire, but again, you're going to pay a little bit more. But it's all relative. You know, I did the other day spend 40 quid on a diesel loco, which for me is a ridiculous sum of money, but new they're 120. So, you know, it's to some degree, it's all relative. I like to pay £15-20 for locos, you know, so eBay and Richard is good. But yeah, there's very few decent second-hand shops, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Where are you going to do another live stream? It's almost the same as the merchandise. If you want it, we'll do it.
Where's your sandwich? Can't help.
It's probably in your kitchen.
I'd like my sandwich. If anybody wants to rush one in, you know, that would be good.
Do you like my name? Orange. I like oranges, yeah.
Interested to see, because I believe making miniatures with wax, I think you're in...
Max.
Max is in America, so yeah, probably the same problem there. Frizinghall Model Railways is awesome, somebody said, so that's worth knowing if anybody's in that part of the country.
Okay.
I think we've got just time to answer the last two here. I'll let Doug answer question 15.
Question 15 by John T. Marsh 04. Do I enjoy the hobby? If I hadn't have built that layout I'm building at the moment, no, I don't enjoy the hobby. So because I'm building it, I obviously do enjoy the hobby. Although it does sometimes do it. Sometimes I feel like I don't really care, and then I'll kind of get into it and be like, whoa, yeah, now I've started again, it's fun.
I think you're being a bit disingenuous. You do enjoy it. You're sitting there doing this. I
enjoy it.
You enjoy doing all the exhibitions.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
If he doesn't enjoy it, I guess we wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember he's a teenager, so he's got an attention span of a goldfish. If he's in the mood, then he's great. You know, the other day he came down and just wanted to run locos on my layout. He's got really fired up about his new layout. He's hit a problem on it. So, of course, being a teenager, he doesn't want to do it. And then I have to explain to him, and now he'll rush off and do point motors. But, I mean, particularly when he was 10 or 11, then, yeah, absolutely, hugely. But, you know, you're happy to do all the exhibitions, aren't you? So,
I don't know why. I love exhibitions.
I think to answer the question is, a lot of people assume that I'm bringing Doug in and that Doug's only doing this because I'm doing it. And it's very much the other way around. This wasn't my hobby, it was Doug's.
Yeah.
And now we kind of both feed off each other in doing it. Is there another question on there, I think, wasn't there, on the last page?
Yeah, but that's the last one, so we'll answer this one. Do you prefer Bachmann or Hornby?
Well, we've only got 2 Bachmann coaches, and that's our sole possession of Bachmann. So I don't know if there's... I haven't got anything against Bachmann beyond that most of what we've got is Hornby and Lima.
I prefer Lima. To be honest, all of the locos that are actually mine I think I've got one that's Hornby, and all the rest are Lima.
Yeah.
My 47 is Lima, my intercity is Lima, my coach
Most
is
of our
Lima.
coaches are Lima. So I think the answer to that would be Lima.
What do you recommend for a new cab assembly for a Ho electric conversion?
Well, the easiest thing to use, because it's got a plastic body, is to get some plastic sheet from a model shop. Having said that, if you use super glue and cardboard, you can make it out of cardboard, which you'll probably have lying around. But a sheet of styrene from a model shop is going to cost you a couple of quid. So, that's probably the easiest way. What's the last question on there? And then we know that one's out of the way.
Yeah. Just saying, if you've got any questions, again, leave them in the live chat. Can you make a video to install Pico point motors on top of the baseboard? Well, I'm putting Pico point motors on my high detailed layout by a 13-year-old. So yeah, at some point it'll probably be a tutorial Tuesday.
Yeah, we've used surface point motors quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, again, when Doug was 10 or 11, he wired in all 5-point motors on his own. We just got the really useful Pico guide and learned from that. So are we going to do more 009? Yep, definitely, but it's going to be a little bit different.
There's 009 there
on the screen, because I've actually got a cunning plan to use N-gauge track with TT, which is 3mm rolling stock and coaches, which will make the track effectively 3-foot scale or meter gauge. So I don't know what you'd call it, TTN3 or something. I've got it all in a box. I've got the bodies, I've got the wagons, I've got the Pico. I've started doing some really good 009 bogies. So I've got some of those, but it's a long-term project. But yeah, at some point we're going to be doing 009 in one form or another.
Definitely. For the Ho conversion, would jumbo popsicle sticks work?
That's a lolly stick. Yeah, possibly.
A big lolly stick.
It's not too bad. Oh, snow on a layout. Well, you can. I got from, if you go into a garden centre at Christmas, they sell all this stuff for making village scenes at Christmas, if you go in any of the really big ones. And they actually sell powdered snow for scenes and model railways. So I would tend to say look out for that.
Yeah. Will you do videos on Loco repair and maintenance?
We've done a few, haven't we?
There's a maintenance video on an 040. I mean, we might do some more for the bigger ones, but they're all really the same. Cotton bud, oil, 3-in-1 oil works perfectly fine.
So on purist, but yeah, clean the wheels, lubricate the motor. That's all we've ever done. Repairing, I've only ever used, if I can't get it going by cleaning the contacts, chucking a lot of power through it and cleaning the wheels, then I sell it and move on. I don't know enough about them to repair them. Interestingly, talking to Richard at Classic Rail, he's very much the same. If he can't get it going quite quickly, he's not bothered. It's not worth the effort on his part. I tend to buy non-runners if I can get them really cheap, that I know I can sell them for that price. And then either I can get them going or I can't. Usually I can. The old ones are not usually broken. They're just clogged up. Clean them, bung some power through them, and they're not too bad.
Yeah.
So I think, what did we got to? We had 15, 18 watching at one point.
Yeah.
I think
30 minutes on the stream.
Well, we'll give it another 10 minutes, and then I think everybody's probably going to be.
I'm just seeing if we've got any questions.
I know why you can't find your sandwich, train guy. I would suggest you've got memory loss problems and you've eaten it. I would check and see if you've got a crust somewhere, which is probably going to be a hint that you've probably eaten it already. Sorry about that. If you're still hungry, it's because you need another sandwich, you know.
Yeah.
Tunnels or bridges? Bridges. Tunnels are a bit normal. I've just built one on Homewood that's really a bridge sort of and a tunnel. But we do like bridges.
Homebase have a big clearance on stuff at the moment. Tester paints, etc. might be worth a nose. Yes, probably.
Difficult part in building your exhibition layout. Well, the baseboard, because it was made out of a whole new thing that nobody had ever done before, and we'd never done before. You know,
no, we didn't know if it would work. The most expensive part of that was the glue.
Yeah, it was. Although, big shout out, PVA. Somebody put us onto the fact that Screwfix sells 10 litres of really good PVA. Sorry, 5 litres of really good PVA for 10 quid.
Yeah.
That makes it £2 a litre for decent PVA.
Which is
the
exact
Poundland
same
stuff
price
now
as Poundland.
is awful. Poundland stuff now is awful.
It also means that if you were going to be building a baseboard, you know, that's enough to do your whole layout, 5 litres. Would you guys do a Christmas layout series? I would love to.
Well, my wife wants us to build a Christmas layout to run around a Christmas tree, which might be built in 009. So yeah, watch out for that one. That might happen this year.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for cleaning the commentators of a 40-year-old? Wouldn't know. I don't know enough about them, but I would suggest if it's corroded, sandpaper.
Sanding block or sandpaper.
Clean all the connections with WD-40. Give it a good spray with WD-40 and see what happens from there. Oh, I'd love to see a Portuguese layout. I love Portuguese, especially the modern orange diesels. I think they look fabulous.
Yeah, if you have any photos of it, send it to our email, which again you can find in the description of all of our videos.
But yeah, I'd love to see a Portuguese railway.
Do you have any of the old locos that produce smoke? I would love to have one of them.
Yeah, I've seen them occasionally, but no, we don't have one. Yeah, the original Poundland PVA was okay. We built a lot of stuff with it. The new stuff is worse than useless. It actually's got almost no glue in it. It just evaporates away.
Yep.
I didn't discover that till I'd spent about £2-3 on it. So yeah, either buy as cheap a decent PVA as you can from somewhere like Hobbycraft, or as I say, the screw fix is the way to go. I would say we're off down there this week to get a load.
That's it.
Why does that Bagnall look black on that screen?
Because that screen's messed up. This screen, which basically what we've done for the setup, we've got 2 screens. So this screen is so we can see what we're doing, and then we've got a screen over there, which is showing us like the chat and everything. And that screen's
So when do they see
up.
what's on that screen?
Oh no, they've got it perfectly in time. There's basically just a
which
lag.
can they see?
That.
Oh, why have we got something different on ours then?
Because that's lagged because it's YouTube.
Okay.
So we're looking
we
at
got a
this
bit
to
of a
frame
lag.
ourselves, but
Okay,
that's what they
fine.
see.
Well, like the bit of film you can see now, this is something I think Doug's really clever at.
No. They saw that ages ago. This is
Oh, well,
what
the
they
bit
can
you saw
see.
earlier, which is when it's
They
at the
see
same
this,
level.
but they see this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you lost me there. Technology, I'm not good with technology.
So basically, ignore that.
Here we go. How do we send photographs in for a more visual reference?
Send photographs in.
Well, if you want to send photographs to us, you send it to budget model BM.
Capitals. Hang on, I'll just type it in the chat. So
You'll put our website address in here
if
and
you
you can
want
send it
to
to that.
send any photos, send it to. If you want, gmail.com. Yeah. So if you want to send us any photos, send it to that email I've just put in the chat there.
Now, while we're talking about the emails, I know a number of you very kindly have subscribed to our newsletter. That's going to be on hold for a little while. We're kind of struggling with it. We've got. I obviously work full time. Doug's now year
9
at school. He's getting busy.
So much homework.
He does homework. He does scout band and scouts. I'm an army cadet officer for a hobby, and I'm a fairly senior officer in that, and that's beginning to take a lot of my time. And we're just struggling now to get the newsletter done. So what's probably going to happen is we'll do one for Christmas, and then we'll do one in the spring. We really appreciated people sending us the photos, but we're just struggling at the moment to find the time.
What we
to do the
think is going to
newsletter.
happen is maybe seasonal. So we'll do a winter edition, a spring edition, a summer edition, an autumn edition. So 4 times a year, every whatever you call it, season. Quarterly.
Yeah, if we can.
If
but
we
don't
can.
hold your breath. We enjoy doing it, but it's very time consuming for us now.
Yeah. Have we got an Instagram account? Yes, we do. It is, if you can see my phone screen, Budget Railways. So occasionally I post pictures kind of behind the scenes of me building my layout. So it is also a bit of a spoiler, so you can see what is coming in the next week.
Yeah, Pineapple Doug should be doing his homework now, actually, rather than doing this.
Yeah, I should be doing lots of homework.
Got English homework to do.
Got so much English.
Yeah, he needs to do well. Wants to be an engineer when he grows up, which I guess is not surprising with his interest in the race. So they can see what's on the big screen.
Yeah, they see.
So this is our loft layout. Now this is something we'd both love to finish, but with all the other projects, this has been built for about 3 years.
Yeah.
The baseboard got laid 3 years ago. There's 2 big loops of track on it, and that's about as far as we've got, which is a real shame. because it would give us the opportunity to run lots of really big locos.
Yeah.
But we have the problem up there that everybody has with lofts, which is it's like a flipping oven in the summer.
And freezing in the winter.
Freezing cold in the winter. And the main problem in the winter is as soon as we open the loft hatch, all the heat from the house goes straight up into the loft.
And then
tends to wind my wife up. So we're struggling a bit really to get that done, which is a bit of a shame because we put a lot of time and money into getting the baseboards built. I think we will get it done eventually, but it's a long-term project. And Train Guy's supposed to be doing homework. And
Join
Harry
the club.
Gem.
Join the club. I meant to be doing homework.
Right, that's a really good question. My wife is relatively supportive because both of us do it. Basically, she wasn't very impressed when Douglas had the room we're in now as his playroom when he was 9 and he got into railways, and she came home one day and we'd taken up all one wall. Now we should have taken the hint, but she went shopping the next day, and when she came home we'd taken up the other wall, which didn't actually go down very well.
The
whole wall behind us.
Green Hill Hall was in there, and then we covered that wall, and then we covered that wall.
So what's happened now basically is we've got a large L-shaped conservatory, and I realised that we could never use the narrow side bit for anything. Certainly my wife couldn't. So that is our model railway area. That's where everything's stored. And that at the moment has, if you like, we've got a status quo. We've got a truce over that side of the conservatory and the loft. My wife does have the whole small front bedroom as a sewing room because we're quite a crafty family. So, yeah. Sorry, making mention. Which question?
No, he's saying, you know what, ignore question of mine.
Oh, okay.
He got confused, I think.
Okay.
Year 11 is harder. Yeah, GCSEs. 2 years off of GCSEs. Oh, that's going to be awful.
Yeah. Democracy 2 against 1. Yeah, whatever. I'm not sure which question that's on about. But yeah.
What is the best stuff for water effects? Mod Podge, PVA, or the Woodland
There's
Scenics?
A couple of issues here.
None.
We use cheap emulsion paint. You use blue and then you use metallic green from Poundland, and you put it on with a sponge and you get a nice mottled finish. When it's completely dry, you go to Poundland, you get yacht varnish for £1. You put a thin layer on and a thin layer on and a thin layer on, and it takes a while to dry, but it comes out and it looks great. The problem is if you go and use the proper stuff, it's about 30 quid for the complete kit, and that's more than I spend on a layout. It's also worth pointing out that I read a really good article in the Railway Modeller where a guy said, why does everybody go to all this trouble of putting waves in? Usually you're modelling a river or a harbour. You don't get waves in either. So it's whatever you want to do, but we're quite happy with the paint effect and the varnish. Year 9 isn't great.
If you wanted to do waves, what you could do, if you left out the varnish, like took a little bit of varnish and left it out until it's not a liquid anymore, but it's kind of tacky, and then you put it on and kind of moulded it, that could work.
The varnish we used on Rosens Hill went brown and green, which was excellent because it just looks like a muddy pond. But Doug did a little base that you've never seen for a submarine.
Yeah.
And the water was just fabulous the way it came out.
Yeah. Keep up the good work. Look forward to it every week.
Right, 3-tone turf effect for grass. Yeah, we will do one day.
Yeah. Going back to that, look forward to it every week. Yeah, we are definitely trying to get more consistent uploads. So we're trying to upload one every weekend and then potentially every Tuesday for our tutorial Tuesday. But, you know, we've got other things as we explained, so we're just trying to get it more consistent.
I really kind of envy, I know the majority of model railway people, certainly in the UK, are well over 60 according to the figures, and indeed according to the demographics.
Yeah, we were looking at our YouTube channel. It's something like 60% of our viewers are over 60.
And I'd love to be retired and able just to concentrate on model railways, but as it is at the moment, as I say, you know, Doug's at school, I've got a full-time job and a fairly demanding Army Cadet career. With them, obviously my wife gets a bit miffed if we don't spend some time with her occasionally. You know, which is quite understandable. So by the time you factor all that in, I think it's quite tricky. 3-tone grass, I want to improve my grass technique. We've got static grass now.
Yeah, we've got lots of static grass.
And I want to try the technique of using scatter and then static grass and different colours, and yeah, we'll work on that.
The person with the Portuguese layout, Caro Belga, have sent us some pictures. Great, we will look at them later. You're also in the August version of Continental.
Oh,
Modeler.
I haven't bought that yet. I'll go and have a look for that. Now, Continental Modeler is my favourite model railway magazine. Railway Modeler gets boring. Yet another Great Western branch line. Continental Modeler is just fabulous. Every single month, lots of different ideas, lots of different layouts. But that's wonderful. Thank you. I mean, you're famous if you're in Continental Modeler. I'm quite impressed. Thank you for being on the channel.
Yeah.
I've got to go and buy that next week, so I'll look out for you. Train guy, didn't find the sandwich but got cake. Lucky you. I think we have some apple cake downstairs that we're going to go and get when we finish
apple
this.
Cake.
But oh, that's fabulous. We'll look out for the Continental Modeler.
Portuguese layout.
Now that on the screen now, that's quite unusual. That's a Hornby 25 converted to a 24 that I got off a guy on eBay. It does lean a little to one side,
Yeah, it goes whoop.
but it's a really nice conversion. It runs quite smoothly. That's when Doug he got quite clever with his camera and a camera truck, which is something we'll experiment with again.
Basically, I just got, if I can reach it. There we go.
Santa Aguida. Oh yeah, I did see that. So we'll look for that. I'm going to go and buy that next week.
Yep.
So can I just ask though, are you actually in Portugal? Are you Portuguese or are you in the UK and making a Portuguese layout? Because it's always nice to know where our people are from around the world.
So for the camera truck, I basically just got a GoPro and just elastic banded it onto a Lomac.
Yeah, it won't go
Simplest
through
way
tunnels
ever.
though.
It won't go through tunnels because it's too tall, and if you lie it down that way, it's too wide.
Now this layout you're looking at now, this is one of the ones we sold. The station building you've just seen is an old Super Quick one that I got, and it's so rare, even Super Quick can't remember it, but I sold it when I sold the layout. That was a nice layout. This is one of my favourites. This is the box layout. So if any of you saw the video, and we had a guy who copied it exactly, which was wonderful. And that's been great fun. And having a lid on it just keeps it clean. But I loved shunting with that.
Yeah.
It was a really good looking little layout. And we've discovered people, which I like using people.
Pineapple is also in year 9. I wonder if I know you. It'd be funny if I do.
Depends which part of the country he's in.
Yeah. Southeast, where it's allegedly the most sunny.
So I think what we'll do, guys, we'll definitely wrap this up at 7:30 because
Yeah.
sadly
it would have been an hour.
he's got homework to do. I've got army cadet work to do. So we'll give you, if you want to ask any more questions, you've got about 5 minutes.
Yep.
We seem to have reached a quiet spot. We've still got 18 people watching though, which is great.
So 18 people. That means you can ask 18 questions.
Now this will go on YouTube as a video at some point for
Yeah.
anyone that hasn't been able to do it as a. Oh, I see what you mean about the colour on that monitor. Those red coaches look blue.
Yeah, I know. That monitor's messed up.
Good monitor.
They
So this
split.
is the old Homewood that you're seeing now. This is the one that the track all warped in the heat, which I'm hoping doesn't happen to Homewood Valley because it's in the same place.
Yeah.
So
Is your daily job related? to
sadly,
trains?
no.
But potentially,
His might
maybe. No, we have a plan. Potentially.
In the long run, it would be something we'd like to get more involved with railways, but no, neither of our day jobs, unfortunately, involve it.
Train guy is loving this. Are you loving the stream or are you loving your cake? I mean, probably the cake.
London Cabbie. I was an air cadet in the 1970s. I reached the rank of cadet warrant officer. However, when I had some time when I was 35 to rejoin the cadet forces, I like going out and get cold, wet, muddy and playing soldiers. So I'm afraid it was the army cadets for me. I've done quite well. I've got to major. So I've been in 17 years now. But yeah, I really loved my time as an air cadet in the 1970s, flying chipmunks, flying 303s, wearing the old battle dress uniform. Very different world nowadays, though, in the cadet forces. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So are we on the RM web? No.
What's RM web?
Railway Modeler.
I know.
I did a few forums and I find them a bit difficult. I find, when they're advising people that you can only do this and you can only do that, a bit.
Making miniatures wax. Do we plan to do anything with pre-grouping signals such as adding LEDs? My layout, if you've probably seen, has got coloured signals. I'm also going to put lights in all the buildings, potentially the trains, if I can work out how to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, chipmunks were great, and Kirby Cadet gliders and Zedberg gliders, open cockpit gliders. I also flew in a whirlwind for anybody that's old enough to know what a whirlwind is. Before the Wessex, so it's a very old helicopter.
I don't know what a Wessex is.
And then last year I got to fly in a Chinook twice, so that was quite good going. 30 years Nearly 40 years between flights in military helicopters, but Chinook's quite something.
Have you ever thought about incorporating Lego into any of your layouts? Well, if you look at we potentially maybe, I mean, behind this blue screen, I put the blue screen up because behind there is a million boxes full of Lego. But if you look at our Bluebell video, the most recent one, the 2017 one, there's a guy called Ian who makes layouts called Small and Working, who are literally in tiny little suitcases, and he's got a Lego one as well.
Isle of Wight layout, you had no interest in it. Oh, scrapped. So you only went to 3 exhibitions. I guess, I don't know if you mean you lost interest in it or people weren't interested in seeing it. I think that the reason we get a lot of interest in our exhibition layouts are because they're different. There's locos running all the time. So Rosen's Hill has 3 different levels, 009, Ho and 00. We don't do any shunting on it. It just have trains running around. It's got 3 stations, a village, a church, a windmill, a railway museum. There's just so much there for the kids and the families to look at. I think the problem is if you do a really nice classical layout, as nice as it is, there'll be an exhibition hall full of those. They're great if for yourself at home and to do a few exhibitions with, but I think it's quite tricky otherwise.
Yeah. Do you plan to do anything with Cessna 172 Skyhawks? What's that?
It's an aeroplane. Yeah, Cessna Skyhawks. I've sold all my aircraft kits bar a few. So I'd like to do. We've got a plan to do an airfield on a layout because we've got the hangar, the super quick hangar.
Yeah.
Any particular eBay store? No, I just spend hours and it drives my wife to distraction. I spend all my time on eBay.
Been to Shipley Model Show today. Some great layouts.
Oh, nice.
Where's Shipley?
Don't know. So people hated it. That's your layout. They hated it. Is that what you're saying? I think that's a shame. I don't think you can be unkind about anybody's layouts. I watch a lot of videos. There's a guy called Barry Davis who's brilliant. He hasn't got scenery or track ballast or anything. He's just got loads of trains running in his shed. I think it's wonderful. We've got a serial disliker who doesn't watch any of our videos but dislikes every single one.
And I get really upset when he doesn't dislike my video.
We like him so much now. We miss him when he doesn't dislike.
Yeah, we notice when he doesn't dislike a video. It's just like, oh, you didn't dislike our video.
I think it's a shame when people are unkind. But no, Stain RHDR, just go on eBay. But, be very, very careful. It's easy to spend too much money. Postage and so on.
Yorkshire, Bradford and Leeds area. So that's the exhibition. Yorkshire, Leeds.
Oh, okay, that's where the exhibition was. Wonderful. Don't get up to that part of the world much. So that's still Homewood, my old layout on there. Yeah. It was a shame that went. I put a huge amount of work into it. But most of it's been salvaged for other layouts. And then this now you're looking at, this is our current Rosen's Hill exhibition layout.
Even though that's not finished on there, but obviously it's finished now.
It's finished now, yeah. That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
We were only saying that the other day, weren't we? That was an awful lot of work.
Well, it was 15 updates of Friday nights. So it was at least 15 Friday nights work and every other night we could get.
All our spare time life for about 6 months.
Yeah.
But it's going to end up being at 4 or 5 exhibitions. So.
No, I reckon it'll make it more.
I don't know. We might move on to something else. We couldn't build a better exhibition layout.
I don't think we should move on to anything else because it's so good. If we were to move on to another exhibition layout, like after this one broke, I'd make this again.
Well, we designed this, didn't we, on the way home from Seaford?
I'd make this thing exactly the same. I'd take the buildings off and stuff and make it exact.
This was made as an exhibition layout because we knew people wanted to see lots happening. And it, I don't quite know on an area 3 foot by 5 foot how you could get any more running on a layout. I've never seen anybody do a 3-level layout in 00. It's a bit special. Right.
You got your last 2 minutes really just to get some questions in before we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, well, London Cabbies, we've said, because obviously you've just come in a bit. No, we knew nothing about trains or model railways till 4 years ago. I was a military and aviation modeller. So now, ironically, my late father wrote for the railway modeller in the late 1950s, early 1960s. He had a model railway when I was a kid. He gave it up when I was 4 or 5. He went into military modelling, which is how I then got into it when I was 8 or 9. He then gave that up and went into watercolour painting and all sorts of things. That's what my dad did. And photography and ornithology and all sorts of things. And ironically then, we've then gone back into railways, which is where he started. Sadly, he passed away before we got into
I don't think you'll get
railways.
into watercolour though.
No, I can't paint. And I'd have loved him obviously to be able to see myself and Doug, my son, doing railways would have been great. But it's a nice little twist in life that we've come back to where he started and doing railways. The 3 of the buildings on Rosens Hill are my late father's buildings that have been kicking around in the loft for 40 years. So, you know, a little bit of him has lived on. A little bit of him has lived on. There's my father's handiwork on our current layout, which
And there's
is
his tripod
nice
right
thing.
there.
Yeah, strange enough, we use his camera tripod. But yeah, so a little bit of his handiwork is still living on. In fact, in that shot there, it's those cottages.
Wait, you can't see him there. No, there.
Lives on
I
in,
don't know
lives
which
on
way
in
am I
his,
pointing.
lives on.
Have you thought of using powertrain sets brought at charity shops and use the equipment for a whole scale layout, such as the electronic level crossings?
Yeah, I've seen. I know what you mean. The kind of toy ones, and I've toyed with it. It's a good pun, isn't it? Yeah. I think wherever you can get stuff cheap from, frankly, you know.
Yeah.
Cheapest layout Loco I've ever bought was £1, and it was one of these Mahano American layouts resprayed to look like a Yugoslav Loco by Mahano. I paid £1 for it on eBay because the guy lived locally, so I could collect it. And I then got a smaller Mahano version for £2 from Richards. So eventually I am going to build a layout using these 2 Locos because they cost me £3.
Yeah.
There we go. That's fine. So we got a couple more minutes because then unfortunately we get onto anything. But
we'll
finish
finish at 7:30.
A huge thank you to everybody that's watched tonight and commented and asked questions.
Subscribed.
I hope you've enjoyed this little live stream as much as we have. It's a bit like doing TV for us.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll have our own TV show.
Have our own TV
Budget
channel.
Model Railways.
Well, I'm old enough to. What was the first train to? What was your first train to have? Well, we answered that earlier, but Doug will quickly say.
A Hornby GWR train set called the Mixed
With
Passenger
low 40
Freight,
on it.
little tiny 040, 2 open wagons, and a GWR 4-wheel coach, oval of track, a point, and a useless controller.
Well, yeah, the Hornby controllers that come in the train sets are pretty naff, to be honest.
Yeah, if you want a train set Hornby controller, go back however many years it was when they made the Triang controllers. Because the Triang Hornby...
they're not Triang, but they're the early Hornby ones with the little
Hornby
red or yellow switches.
That have either red or yellow knobs, and the rest of them are all black, are brilliant controllers.
Well, the diesel Locos, this is a really funny one, because when we first started... Do you mind if I tell this one?
Yeah, fine.
When we started doing model railways, we were obviously steam. And like everybody, we went, oh, no, we're not going to do diesels. No, horrid, nasty things. No. One of the first things we got was an 060 chassis. And the only Loco I could scratch build on it was a Class 08 copy. Went online, got a few photos. I used to scratch build masters for war games vehicles. So I could make tanks, like Sherman tanks and Panzer IVs from scratch. So a block 08 diesel, no problem. And we went into Smith's and we got a magazine on diesel trains just to get a bit of info on it. And I fell in love with diesels. I just got really engrossed by it. And we went to the National Railway Museum and saw the Class 40. And I love machines. And I just can't see how you can't be impressed by a whacking great diesel logo.
No.
And so I'm sorry, guys. I'm a huge diesel fan. Now, I like my steam trains, but it's not a tough one for me. If it's diesels or steam, I love diesels. Doug?
What?
Which would you prefer?
Neither. I like electric. Actually, no, I like diesel.
No, you like
47 is my favourite diesel. As I said earlier, it's my favourite Loco, 47 in Swallow livery. I accidentally bought 2 of them.
Yes. My favourite Loco in real life is Class 37. I just love the Class 37s. I like the fact that I saw one still in use. I've seen 2 last year still in use. One direct rail services at Ashford, and the other I can't remember. It's this big red one with the dragon or the griffin up the side.
I also like that Loco that you can see now down there.
So I'm a huge Class 37 fan, I'm afraid. Yeah, TV show. Netflix or Amazon Prime. We'll have that one day.
Because you can get Netflix and Amazon Prime TV shows.
I like American Trains. Haven't got anything against them, but again, it's probably not something we'll ever get the time or the money to go into.
No.
But I'm very impressed by some of the older American stations. I read a book recently on American railways, which I thought was wonderful.
Phoenix 47. I think that's.
That's the one, Phoenix. Dragon. Yeah, I think so. It's got a griffin or a dragon or a phoenix. It's a red one. Looks like a Vauxhall logo. Very impressive. No, I haven't thought about building an LNER Y3 and 00. if I could get a model of it, but I'm a long way from being able to build my own locos. Yeah, class 37 fan, you see.
Nah, 47.
Both useful. I think what annoys me with the diesels is the misunderstanding that when diesels came along, the railway stopped. Actually, all the early diesels did all the same work as the steam engines did for quite a number of years. I mean, you can talk about 37 that's now been in service for 40 years. That's longer than many steam locos. So the diesel trains are very much part of our railway heritage, really, if you bother to look. So I'm a big diesel fan, which probably just lost us about 3,000 subscribers, but sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Right, a couple more minutes and then we're going to have to wrap this up. So time for the last few more questions, anybody, if you want.
Literally like a minute.
Fight 37 versus 47.
No, it's easy, I win.
No. We should do a video, class 37 versus class 47.
Yeah, well, we see. Actually, one of my favourite 37 models is one of the old Hornby ones that I got. Yeah, we do disagree over most things, but I obviously, you know, age over beauty and all that. If you've got any questions that we don't get time to answer, please send us an email.
And we generally answer all of our emails.
Well, we try to. We're struggling to answer all the comments on the videos. We've got over 100 videos now. We've had 8,000 views and 200 comments in the last few days alone. And we're really sorry if anybody's left us some nice comments. We try and catch up, but again, we're struggling with the time, really. Tallinn Railway, yeah, Tallinn's really nice. It was the very first preserved railway in the UK, so it's one I'd like to see. This is all the loft film again.
Yeah. 16 watching still. That is the most we've we've had in this live stream, the most we've ever had in a live stream. Actually, I scratch build trains. I take the shell off and I make a new new locomotive. I can make one for you if you want.
Oh, you scratch build? Well, that's very clever. It's very kind offer. We'll have it. We might take you up on that one day. I can scratch build diesel locos, but I think steam bodies would probably push me a bit. Yeah, excellent. Right, guys, I think our little old clock's ticking. We'll give it a couple more minutes, and then I'm afraid we are going to have to go. He's got homework
2 minutes
to
to
do.
answer all questions, and then the stream goes down.
So, yeah, 2 more minutes, guys, and then we're going to have to say goodbye, I'm afraid.
Festiniog and Welsh Highland for the win. Yes, I love the Festiniog and Welsh Highland.
Yeah, I did like the Welsh Highland.
It's a shame, though, when we went on them that I didn't have my amazing white... Get the white... Wait, I think it's in the white pot.
What?
It's a shame when we went to the Festiniog, I didn't have my good camera. I used to just basically film all of our videos on my tablet, because the Welsh Highland Festiniog would have made an excellent video on a camera rather than a tablet.
That's a nice loco. So they're the Airfix ones, and they look wonderful, but they're flipping noisy.
Yeah.
That one's noisy because it weighs a ton and it just grinds on the tracks.
And you dropped it.
Yeah, I did. When we first did railways, my wife said you can't do them. Doug will break all the trains and they're too expensive. So I've dropped 5 and Doug's dropped none.
Yeah. You've burnt your hand on a soldering iron a million times. I've never.
Yeah, it's been a couple minutes for the last. Yeah, I know. We really must.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I think we have to say thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate that.
Goodbye.
Wonderful, and thank you for all your comments. And we'll do another live stream, perhaps when we've got 4,000 subscribers.
10,000. Yeah, help us get 10,000.
Help us get to 10,000.
We'll do something special for 10,000. Let's say that. We'll do.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
something
watching.
special.
Thanks for your time. And let's all keep going with this wonderful hobby.
Yep. Goodbye. Goodbye, Making Miniatures for Max. Goodbye, London Cabby. Goodbye, you all. See you all later.